Do I need to delete these hidden whatchamacallit, so people who get to the slides aren't going to see them?
Yeah, they don't see them.
Okay, fair enough.
It's their view only.
Fair enough.
Okay, we should be live now.
Let's see here. Oh, yep, got to enable chat for everybody.
Enable chat, yes. Okay, so it's 12 p.m. Eastern, and we're gonna get started. Welcome everybody to RightTool for QuickBooks Online monthly webinar update version 1.017.5, which basically means it's a November release. So let's get started. I put in the chat below, I put a link to the slides if you want to follow along with the slides. Just a quick reminder that we had a webinar just like this. Actually, yeah, remind me if my microphone's not next to me, Mark. Anyway,
You're fine.
quick reminder, if you were not in the webinar last month, there's a link in the slides to check out our October release, which had all the features that were released in October. And make sure you subscribe to the RightTool YouTube channel, because essentially every time we release a new feature, Mark or I, lately it's been more Mark than I, will release a quick video explaining what the feature is. And technically the fastest way to know when something is a new feature is coming up is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we tend to post the video before we do the update. Now, the agenda for today is we'll talk about some news that just came out like 2 days ago for QuickBooks Online accountants. It's a really big deal. Then we'll talk about RightTool resources, user reviews, feedback, like how to interact with us. Then we'll talk about the RightTool meetup in Las Vegas on Sunday, November 12th at QuickBooks Connect. Then we'll quickly talk about the free versus pro comparison chart, a really important resource for you to have if you're trying to decide between one or the other, or recommending somebody else to work with RightTool. Then we're going to talk about 2 new experimental pro features we've added in November. Then 5 pro features we converted from pro to free, all in the bank feed. So we'll talk about those. And then these were like one of the first features that we added the RightTool a few months ago. So we'll get a chance to re-review them for everybody that's only on the free version. So we have an idea more or less like who is this new for. Then we'll talk about 3 new free features that were added in November, and then 2 improvements to an existing feature. Now I have to leave right on top of the hour because I have another webinar happening right after. So if I can't finish to the end, Mark will take us through the end. So let's start with the big, the what?
We're going to see about that.
Yeah.
One more thing before we start. Apparently, you gave everybody else access to talk to everybody, but I don't have the ability to talk to everybody. I can only talk to you. I don't know if that's anything you can change easily.
On the chat, you mean?
Yeah.
Try it now.
Let's see. Yeah, there we go. I need to chat with people. That's what I got to do.
I know. Sorry. Hopefully you don't, this is not indicative of how you think I feel about you. So the big news that came out is the new QuickBooks Ledger product. Why would we even be talking about this in a RightTool webinar? Well, it is because I believe the biggest question you're going to have is, will RightTool work in QuickBooks Ledger? So long story short, QuickBooks Ledger is a new product that's going to be $10 a month, only for accountants, not client-facing. It's going to have banking, registers, reconciliation, 1099s, and reports, essentially for your write-up clients, for your sort of cash basis, P&L and balance sheet only clients that are not going to be doing invoicing and bills, no AR, no accounts payable. So just basic, simple accounting. And the whole purpose of this is to, for Intuit wants you to convert more of your desktop clients that are there for just like sort of once a year for tax return type of work, move them to QBO. And of course, if you're a tax preparer, they want you to be using the QBO 2 PTO Pro Connect Tax system. Okay, so that's essentially what the target market for this product is. It should look and feel just like QuickBooks Online. We don't have access to it yet, so we don't know if RightTool is going to work for it. But you betcha that like probably our entire resources will be shifted to making sure that RightTool does work with QuickBooks Ledger. Again, assuming a similar interface. If we have to rebuild an entire extension for it, probably not. But if it's something that is just basically a natural, tweaking a couple of things in RightTool to make it work, we're going to make it work, especially because we're releasing such a great feature this month, that that's going to be like the feature that combined with QuickBooks Ledger is going to make it a monster of a useful tool. So you can check out the Firm of the Future article and the comp chart. The comp chart is pretty cool. I like the fact that QuickBooks proactively already created a comparison chart, so you can actually see the difference between Ledger and Simple Start. So you can go down the line. I mean, some nuances are not explained here, but at least at a high level, it is pretty interesting. This thing is the part that Mark and I will be paying close attention to. How will third-party apps work with QuickBooks Ledger? Because naturally, our company, APT, Accounting Pro Tools, it's going to also be building API-based tools. Okay, so all the links are in the slides. So I'm not going to drop every individual link in the chat. So again, release notes are updated in our website. Our Facebook group is probably the best place for you to interact, ask questions, suggest new things. If something's wrong with your RightTool or you're suggesting a feature, use the feedback form or email Mark and I directly. So these are the different ways you can interact with us. One thing I got to tell you is, make sure that you send us the feedback, but don't put the feedback in the reviews, right? The reviews is about, how great RightTool is for you. Help us spread the word, get more users into RightTool so we can make this business more sustainable long-term. We can hire more people, more support people, more developers, that sort of thing. You gotta keep in mind that sometimes, I say most of the times, when something is not working is because Intuit changed something in a page or something, or there's 3 or 4 different versions of a page, and we don't necessarily have visibility to all the pages. Like this QuickBooks Ledger is going to be a great example. So we have to wait until we have access to these things, so then we can develop for it. So sometimes we can't keep up with all the changes that Intuit has, and then we work really, really hard at making sure that we can catch up to these things. So that's really important. And if you are, and if you love the tool and you want to give us a 5-star rating, going to the review page in Google, that's where we're focusing all of it right now. And you could put your review there. One per person is enough. I mean, we'll love all your feedback, but let the world know that this is a really useful tool. Especially let QuickBooks know it's a really useful tool, so they continue to play friendly with us. And not that they've ever shown sort of like adversity towards us, but if QuickBooks understands the value of the tool, it might make it easier for us to continue to develop it and make more resources available to us, such as changes that are coming down the pike, so we can be more proactive in changing the tools on the new features. Now, if you're going to Las Vegas, put in the chat if you're going to Las Vegas. I just want to see if going to Las Vegas, just put yes, me, or woo. One of the 3 is fine. Come by on Sunday at 6 p.m. to the Arias Hospitality Suite or VIP Lounge. And if you have your ticket, or your confirmation on the phone, we'll let you in first. It's technically sold out. There's a fire department limit of how many people fit in that room. So we have assumed that we might have more people than ticket holders. We'll let all the ticket holders come in first, and then after we kind of have a head count around 6:30, we'll allow more people in if you're not holding a ticket. We're gonna raffle off some prices. I already bought them, so I will have them in my luggage to give them up to our super fans next week. Actually, this Sunday. Okay, so let's chat about the comparison chart. I mean, this is very proud of this thing, this spreadsheet, because it just takes so much time to keep up with it. I am going to let me delete the version 16. Now the version 17 is up. And if you want to just search through it, you can search through the name of the features. You can search the description. You have a column that tells you which is free, which is pro. There's a video linked to every single feature. There's a column here that says defaulted mode. Let me hide this one, and it's if it's on, that means that when you first turn on, install RightTool, it's on, right? And then always on means you cannot turn it on or off. And then if it's off, it means it's defaulted off, but you can turn it on and off. So that gives you kind of an idea more or less of like how to use this tool. And it's all grouped and organized by by the category by the setting category that it's in. Okay, so that's the spreadsheet. And we're gonna talk about some numbers really quick. So there's about 12 RightTool navigational features, and they're listed in there that cannot be toggled. They're not toggleable. That means it can be changed, right? That means you install RightTool and they're there. So it's about 12. We count about 12 different things that RightTool does just with the right navigation bar. Then there's about 6 settings that you can modify on the RightTool navigation bar, and those are part of the free edition. Then we have 47 toggleable in QBO enhancement features. This is all the new things that you see inside QuickBooks Online when RightTool is turned on. There's 4 pro features related to the navigation bar, to the specific RightTool navigation bar, and 48 in QBO enhancement features. So we crossed the chasm of over 100 features in RightTool in the past year. So, great job, Mark, for working so hard and giving us all these amazing options, and most importantly, the ability to customize and choose which one you want to use or not. That's kind of the big deal. Okay, Mark, any comments on that before we start going into the new feature, or correct me on how to say untoggleable?
I mean, honestly, I appreciate the fact that it took you a little bit of time to say untoggleable. It makes me feel better about my own shortcomings.
Not an easy word to say. All right, so we're gonna start with the experimental pro features, just because they're much more exciting at first, and then we're gonna go down to the free features from there. So the first big one here is the bulk create in register. Let me tell you right now that if you have been a free user and reluctant to get into pro for XYZ reason, I really don't care what the reasons were, this is the feature where you go, that's it, I gotta go to pro. Mark, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's interesting. I think we're having different opinions on how much people are going to love this.
We'll get your reaction live. So we'll go to the settings button, and then we're going to go down to experiments pro, and this is the first version of it. So first version of it, and then we're going to turn on this one called bulk create in register. So we turn that on again, pro edition only. We'll save, and then we'll go back into QuickBooks, and then we'll click on the bank register. Okay, all right, so here we go. So now that we're in the bank register, I'll switch out to maybe a bank register that's blank. So we have no transactions in this bank register, and then we're going to click on bulk enter. Okay, it's a little button, bulk enter. We could have called it batch enter. We're still kind of between whether we should call it batch enter or bulk enter. And what we've done is, essentially, if you're already a pro user, you've used the copy and paste feature to go from a spreadsheet journal entry into a QuickBooks journal entry. We're going to use the exact same logic here, but we are going to be using, assuming that you have a spreadsheet of a whole bunch of transactions. Let's say you have a bunch of deposits, or you have credit cards, you have a bunch of different things. So I'm going to open up a spreadsheet here, and the use case, you kind of have to think about, okay, let's say you happen to have, let's say, a petty cash register or something like that in Excel. And you have all the transactions sort of organized like this. You have to use a template, so you have to use.
One more second before you continue.
Yes.
I think you might have shared your browser instead of your, unless anybody else can see it. I don't see the Excel or the CSV open right now.
Absolutely right. Let me give me a second. So let's go here. So you were not seeing the spreadsheet.
Yeah, now I can see it. Now we're good.
Okay, so you will have the ability to have let me do this for a second. You will have the ability to have a template that kind of looks like this, but I'm just showing you so you get a general idea for what we're talking about here. So I happen to have a spreadsheet where I have the column for date, a column for reference number, a column for payee, a column for account, a column for memo, a column for payment, a column for deposit, a column for class, and then a column for location. Okay, now you don't have to use all of them. Obviously, it depends on your QuickBooks file. Some people have classes, some people have locations, some people don't have any. So that's it. So essentially, you have a spreadsheet that kind of looks like this. One key thing is your account names need to match, your payee names need to match, your classes need to match, your locations need to match. All the stuff that's tied to a drop-down menu, to a database item that's already in QBO, that needs to match, and that we can't fix the fact that you might have something different than something else. Okay. The other thing is, this is not for detail of the transactions, only for a single line. So single expense line, single income line. You know, so if we're dealing with like people in Canada or UK, we're not 100% sure how this will work with VAT, with value added tax or GST. We'll study that later on. Okay, in America, things are kind of simple when it comes to bookkeeping. So we'll get to that later. For now, we're focused on the US market on this. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this spreadsheet and we're gonna grab the data from it. Okay, so you can grab the entire spreadsheet or maybe just a section of it, and notice that there's amounts and memos and stuff like that. Then I'm going to copy this. So just think of a simple copy and paste. Then we'll go back into QuickBooks Online with our batch enter transactions, our bulk enter transactions in RightTool. And then we're going to right click and paste that in that box. I know it feels kind of awkward to paste in that little tiny box, but that's the mechanic that we have now. And then once we do the paste, what it does is it gives you a quick preview of what this will look like if we were to take that data from the spreadsheet into your bank register. So you get a quick preview of what that looks like. If something is not exact, okay, so like it would be yellow. So something's not exact, it would be yellow like this, like, hey, we don't know what to match it to. And then you will have a couple of options here so basically anything that contains this information will be available up here, and then you can pick it, right? So you just gotta be aware that that if anything if anything's in yellow, it's not gonna match, and if anything is in red, like it's not gonna match at all, like, you know, like something like this. We'll go down here and do something like this. You can click on where it says no match. I mean, you can actually click on that, even though it's not intuitive that you can click on that, and it'll take you straight to it. So you can like go ahead and clean these up, okay, or put whatever you think is the right thing prior to going in there. So it's basically a quick way for you to jump straight into the stuff that's not matching, and pretty soon we'll do the same thing on the no exact match feature as well. So you'll be able to click on that. I'll take you straight to that so you get an idea. Okay. So that's an important one. And then we're getting some suggestions saying, hey, what about a filter just showing me the reds or just showing me the yellows? That's pretty interesting. We'll get to that. I think that's something that we can go. Again, this is the amazing thing about this community and these webinars is that, you know, people real live are reacting to these things the first thing they see them, and they tell us, like, as a user, these are the things that I expect. Okay. Then down here, you're going to see total transactions. Basically for you to quickly check, okay, did my copy and paste work? Is it the right amount of transactions? And then this is the single most important thing, especially when you first start experimenting with this, is you want to append a memo. So if you do have memos and the memos are coming in, you want to append a memo. We defaulted RT bulk. Okay. You can do whatever you want. But I did on purpose. So if you forget to put anything in there and you see RT bulk, essentially, if you then want to delete something later on and you want to delete the stuff that you specifically imported through the system, by having that RT bulk, which normally you wouldn't use for any other circumstance, you can filter that and then delete those if you want to. Okay. All right. So there we go. So now we're going to click on bulk enter. Okay. And there's 39 transactions in there. I want to click on bulk enter. And before I do that, I'm just going to do a quick drum roll. You want to help me? Drum roll.
Wait, I don't know. Can you hear that okay? 1 second.
All right. 3, 2, 1, bulk enter. Okay.
Is it going to be the first time I've ever seen this not do it right? Is that really what it's going to do on the live call? Gosh diddly. I can't believe that. This thing just, man, webinars, man, they just don't want to work with me. By the way, you stop sharing.
No, my computer froze. Hold on a second.
Oh, interesting.
What the heck? Sorry.
You entered too many transactions at one time.
So anticlimactic. Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah, no kidding. But that's okay. That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, give me a second. Hold on.
We will confirm that we have ran this multiple times.
Sorry. Yep. There we go. Okay. So try this again. Computer froze literally when I hit bulk enter. I think I hyped it up way too much. Okay, so we're gonna click bulk enter, and then we'll just let it go. Okay, so you start seeing them sort of on the fly happen, and we've been playing with this is why Experimenting Pro. We've been playing with the timing of this thing. Okay, because one of the interesting things about this is If we make it really fast, which is nice, it works really well with fast computers. If you make it, very slow, it's more likely to work. But then you're like, okay, is really saving me time if it takes X amount of time, right? So there's all the transactions that were entered, okay, and I'm gonna do a batch delete really quick here. Let me go back and set these up. So I just want to do it again.
By the way, just so people can know while we're in this screen, this is in Experiments Pro. It is in the RightTool settings, which you just get to from that little wrench and
correct.
icon.
So I'm gonna delete them all again one more time,
Yeah.
just so we can go through them. Okay, so I'm going to the batch delete, which most pro users already know about the batch delete, but kind of satisfying to delete and enter things like that. Okay.
Yeah. And just to answer things, just so people know, it does not replace SAS. Right now, this can only do basically single line transactions at a time because we're using the mechanics of the register. So anything you can do in the register, well, not anything, but if you can't do it in the register, you can't really do it through this. We will work on stuff as we kind of come up with ideas and maybe play around with stuff. But at the moment, it doesn't really replace SAS.
So let's explain that. So when I go to expense, notice the fields that I have. I have payee, I have memo, I have class, I have payment, I have location, I have account. I don't have customer job. I don't have customer project. I don't have tags. So I cannot add things that are not here. Okay, so for that, you need an API-based tool. You need something like Sasan. So yeah, really good point. But again, there's a specific use case for this. Specific use case for this. Let's do this again. Bulk enter, paste that, and then we'll go bulk enter. There's 101 transactions in here. Let me do a bulk enter, and we'll let that do its thing. Okay. So again, only the columns that are available in this field. Now, this is a good question here, Mark. If the columns are hidden, so let's say class and locations are hidden from the register, but they're still accessible. Can you enter them, or do you have to show them?
That's an interesting point. At the moment, I have it so that if it's hidden, like I literally actually worked with this because I was like, oh, I don't like the fact that class and location were showing up even when a file didn't have class and location. So I explicitly went out of my way to make it so it doesn't show up when it's hidden. But if it's gonna, that's a good use case I did not think about.
Exactly. Right. So for now, we've only tested it with them actually showing. That way you can actually load them in there. Okay. So there's my transactions. There's 101 transactions. Okay. And these are the same 101 transactions that I imported from here. Now, we've added some intelligent features to this. So a couple things. If you have a reference, if you're in a check register and you have a reference number, it will actually turn it into a check. So for example, I'm going to do here 1001, 1002, 1005. Okay. And then if the amount is not in payment, but the amount is deposit, it would make it a deposit transaction. Okay. So I'm going to bring in these here. So notice, and you can see my screen, right? You notice that I have 3 of them that have a check number and a couple that are deposits. And I didn't change the structure of the sheet. The only thing that changed again is that. Now I'm going to put a memo. I'll just put something random here in the memo. Because I had the memo blank, but I'll just add some random stuff here in the memo. And then I'm going to copy this over again. I'm going to go and grab a different account. I'm going to grab a new fresh account. We'll do this one. Let's delete this. And we'll delete that. Perfect. So we'll do bulk enter. Start with a blank one. Paste that in there. Okay. You get a preview of what that's going to look like. Okay. Then we go to bulk enter. And then notice that some things come in as expense, some things come in as deposit, and some things come in as check. So you see the ones with the numbers have checks. The ones that were that had the dollar amount on the other side there. There's a little glitch
looks
here.
like I need to do something with that because that's coming in at 0. So we got to fix
glitch
that.
here came with 0. So we'll work on that again. We literally just released this yesterday, and we're showcasing it sort of a little bit early, and it's already available. And through this week, we'll be working on that. Now, to get a template, the best thing you can do is when you click on bulk enter, you click on export all list data. Okay, and then once you click on export all list data, is going to give you a spreadsheet. Just bring it over here. It will give you a spreadsheet that actually contains two things, and you could ignore some of it. It contains the headers up here. This is your template for import. And then it actually contains, and this is kind of interesting, it contains your entire database of payees, your entire database of expenses, and your entire database of classes and locations. And the reason for that is because sometimes maybe you want to do a VLOOKUP, or you want to check against something else, or something like that. So it has that. If you don't need the database of things after you exported that, just delete that. Okay, just come in and delete that, and just keep the header part. But what's cool about this, I think, just delete the rest of the stuff. Okay, but
too many accounts.
Yeah, but what's cool at it is sometimes it's useful to like quickly be able to tell how many customers you have, how many vendors you have, just to kind of see how big your list is. But essentially, the export all list is a template and your entire list.
And people are kind of asking what you meant by database, I believe, is kind of what the real question is.
Yeah, so it's like everything that's in the drop down menu. So we'll come back here in a second. So when you click on anything that has a drop down menu where you add something to it, and you have to pick it from a drop down menu, that's what I mean by the database. So the QuickBooks database, your list of customers, your list of payees, your list of accounts, your list of classes, your list of locations. That's what I meant by database. There's no database per se. So does that make sense? Okay. Are there any questions on bulk enter specifically?
I know a lot of people had questions during it, but now my brain's blanking on all the ones that.
All right, that's fine. Now there's a specific reason why I added this RT bulk thing, this additional memo in there, and I'll show you. Let's say, for example, I happen to be like doing something else in QuickBooks, and I'm like, which are the transactions I just entered with the bulk enter? So you go into search and just type the RT bulk or whatever, because you could have modified that. You just add that in there, and you can go, or let's just do it easily. Let's go into the advanced search and do that. And depending on what type of search you have, you can search for memo here, and then click on search, and it should give you all the transactions that are using that. Or you can use the RightTool search and type, your RT bulk in there, and then just press enter, and it will take you to the transaction search and find all the transactions that contain RT, that little memo RT bulk on it. Like if for some reason my QuickBooks file has the old search in it, so sometimes it just bugs out. But you could just manually enter go into advanced search and search that into memo. So it depends on which search you have, because QuickBooks does this, where some people have the old search, some people have the new search, that sort of thing. But that's essentially what the point is being able to find that memo, and you'll be able to identify which transactions in there are from the bulk enter, right? Because it's really the only way to tell it's by adding that particular piece of just additional information to the memo. Okay. All right. Let's go to, I think we're good to go with that. And again, let's keep in mind that this is the first iteration of this. Like we literally just finished this last night, and we wanted to have it showcase it here. I suspect that by mid-November, so the next couple of days or so, we'll finish iron out all the kinks. Do test it, do give us feedback. Something's not working with it 100%. We'll be working on that right away. Okay, the next one's called Find Product for Activating Accounts. And what I'll do is, because this is actually the brainchild of Mark, and this came
to be clear, it is not my brainchild. It's just that this is something in Facebook group on Monday, I think people were asking for it, and this is just a version 1. It is very much a version 1.
Yeah, again, experimental feature. So we'll do an example, Mark, and maybe you can explain sort of the logic where this came from.
Yeah. So yeah, cost of vegetables income is a good one for this. So on the Facebook group, people were like, oh, it's annoying when sometimes you get, you're trying to inactivate an account, and then it gives you this thing that says this account is used by a product or service. This is just a rudimentary way of getting you access to a list of what products and services are actually tied to that account that you're going to inactivate. So,
so we added this button here that says find product and service. That RightTool added this.
Yeah.
So we'll click on that. Let me show you how that works. We'll click on that and it opens up a report. Okay. And there's two things happening. It opens up a report and it actually goes through the report. Like it actually goes through the report and tries to figure out in which products would have that same account, either in the income account or the expense account. Unfortunately, because QuickBooks doesn't have a way to show, believe it or not, a way to show a report that contains a column for the asset account. It's not going to work really well with inventory accounts in which the account you're trying, inventory items in which the account you're trying to delete is actually part of the assets, but at least it gives you 2/3 of the way, which is it an income account or in an expense account? Now, again, this was just released a couple of days ago, and we've been testing it ever since. I'm going to click on it one more time so you see it. And there are some things that we already thought about, like improving this, like could we, if this list is really long, could we export that into CSV and give you like a CSV file that you can work with that, or possibly linking each of these, like having an actual hyperlink. I wonder if that's possible, Mark. Having a hyperlink open up a new tab and it goes straight into, like, for example, if we're going to do the Haas avocado, let me do Haas here for a second. And if we click on that, that would actually open this. So it would be interesting. Like,
which is annoying because I don't think from this page you can actually deactivate it. So you actually have to go to the items page to deactivate, I believe, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah. So I guess in reality, no matter what, there's nothing you can do about that. However, I wonder, and again, sorry guys that we brainstorm on the fly like that, because that's how we operate. I wonder if we had this here, if we can maybe not click on this because that would mess up the little, but could we somehow automate opening the item list, plugging it here?
And this is part of a bunch of things that we're going to want to do for this. This is a feature for people realize, like, I've worked on literally 2 days in the course of 2 days.
Yeah.
And I was working on other stuff too. So we are going to put more stuff into this. This is just really a first version of it, so people can kind of get used to the idea of it and test it and see if it's giving you any real weird errors.
Right. I mean, RightTool is very much a user-driven tool, right? So like we are the type of people that, like, we love the fact that we added Experiments Pro and look how many features are in here. Is because we love the fact that, like, our community is forgiving enough to go, hey, we like when you release these things even like half-baked, because we like to play with it and you guys give us the feedback, and that's how we make it better. So we're going to be continuing to, like, before we used to beta test it really hard before releasing it. Now we have enough users that tell us, yeah, just release it, we'll play with it, we'll let you know. And then as long as we put it under Experiments Pro and people know that, hey, it might not be 100%, like our users want to be our beta testers, we don't even have to pay them, which is amazing. But yeah, so something to think about on that specifically. It's like, what if we were to click on that, and then each of these would have a link, and it will open up a new tab, and it opens here and it goes straight to it. Then that way we could literally just come in here, boom, make it active really quick, or do whatever you need to manipulate with it. That would be pretty interesting. Unfortunately, you can't search multiple at the same time, so you got to do one by one. So it would probably be a new tab for each one.
Yeah, which is, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. Okay. So those are the 2 new experimental features in Pro. This is active already. This is actually active on version 17.5. We had a couple of mini releases that we had to do prior to going live. So in 1.17.5, this should be active. All the Pro users should have access to both of these features. Now, so that's the first set of big news. Exciting. I think most people are excited about these 2 things. It's awesome. Now let's talk about what we've done for the free users. So we have 397 people live here on the webinar. I wonder how many are free users. Could you put in the chat free? Just put free. I want to see, like, how many are free users. I was thinking that most people were Pro users, but yeah, that's quite a bit. That is quite a bit. Quite a bit. Okay. So okay, that's good. Okay, so we got quite a bit. I was gonna run a poll, but I don't think I had time to to put one together or do one.
Without that extra 30 minutes at the end, you're like, I got to keep it short.
Yeah, actually, I do have a poll. There you go. Poll time. So while we have the poll up, and then we'll get the actual precise answer, we'll talk about some of the philosophy behind it. So we used to have a setting called Bank Feed Pro, and now we renamed that to Bank Automation Pro. And then we created a new setting category, a new group of setting categories called Bank/Rules. And what we did is we moved a few of the features that used to be in Bank Feed Pro and a few of the banking and rules related features that used to be in error correction. And we put them into one category called Bank Rules Free. And eventually it's everything that's available for free users. It's now under Bank Rules, and all the stuff that used to be available for the pro users is still on Bank Automation Pro. And the way we made this decision, and we're continuing, this is going to be kind of a philosophy moving forward, is if we create a tool that takes multiple steps to execute, like, you know, like a batch enter or something like that, it's definitely going to be a pro. But if we create a tool that's maybe a little bit more passive, you know, maybe it's a single step or a single link or a single piece of information being displayed, that's going to be more of the free. And I guess it's hard to explain and kind of wonky to get into the details on how we think about free versus pro. But anything that's like automation in general, that's multiple steps, that's robotic process automation, anything with AI, with ChatGPT, that's always going to be pro, just because it's just more complex to maintain, especially the batching tools, the batch deletes and all these things, and all the stuff that's just sitting there. It's just there. A quick enhancement, quick link will be free. So that's kind of the logic. So you get an idea more or less like what we think about when it comes to making something free or pro. So because of that, we took 5 features, and thank you for answering the poll. It's about 50-50, Mark. That's pretty interesting. Actually, we got more pro users than free users, so that's pretty cool.
I'm just surprised how many people answered the poll.
Yeah. Yeah, some people don't like answering polls. So the 5 features that we added, and do we have a slide for that? Yeah, there we go. So the 5 features that we added were bank feed additional detail, bank text under bank feed cards, larger account memo boxes, new transactions button, and pay history link. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to go into settings. I'm going to go into the new bank/rules, and you will notice that the first 5 that have that new icon. Also, quick update too. We added a new icon to any feature that has been added in the last 30 days. That's kind of like how we're going to do a new, because we had so many people do every 30 days. So these 5 are technically not new for pro users, but they are new for free users. So all these get that little new icon to make it easier to discover. And other ones under bank rules, these used to be under error correction. So we moved it from error correction to bank rules. So it makes more sense. And then all the other bank automation tools that used to be under Bank Feed Pro, they're still going to be under this option called Bank Automation. So we just renamed Bank Feed Pro to Bank Automation, kept all the things that are, again, multi-step type of features. And then we moved to Bank/Rules, the free stuff related to banking. And also, you notice in the category itself, next to the name, we added little stars there. That's also like to reminder that inside of that setting category, there is something new. So let's talk about these 5 features in Bank Feeds, now free under Bank/Rules. So let's go into QuickBooks Online. We're going to go into Bank Feeds. And, you know, the pro users already know about this. So, you know, you can go get some coffee, go to the bathroom, come back in a few minutes. So we're going to go through the things that we added. So the first thing we added is this new expense button here. Essentially, sometimes you're inside Bank Feeds and you want to quickly create a sales receipt, a deposit, or a check, or whatever it happens to be. And if you do it straight from here, if I click on deposit, for example, it opens up a new tab with that deposit screen, and immediately puts up here, and this is the magic of it. It's not just creating a new transaction, because you can create a new transaction by clicking on the new button. Like you can say, Hector, big deal. I can click on the plus button here and then go and create a check, an expense, or whatever. Yeah, I know, I get it. But first of all, this list only contains the transactions that are relevant to this screen. And also, again, if I if I do it, it automatically chooses a source account and puts it up here, because as you know, QuickBooks has this random accounts that it uses for the default. So contextually, if you're going to be creating a transaction from bank feeds, it probably means that it's for that particular account. So that's why we did that. The other thing we did is sometimes we will have the names of accounts will be too big for us to know exactly which card we're working on. So for example, if you look at this one called Chase Delta Rewards 4005 in parentheses, sub account R Smith 1234 in parentheses, and then vehicle in parentheses. Okay, so sometimes this happens where there's a whole bunch of information in the name of that account, but QuickBooks doesn't tell you right away, and you have to put your mouse over it, and kind of wait for that little tooltip to show up to kind of see what the full account name is. So what we've done is we've done a super interesting, and this came from an actual team member, a bookkeeper in my accounting office. It's like, Hector, sometimes there's specific piece of information that I want to sort of deprecate and quickly have access to. So anything that's in parentheses, and if there's a double parentheses, it will take the last parentheses, it will deprecate it and bring it down here so you can quickly know which account it is. So for example, in this case, we put Jim in parentheses. In this case, we put 5155 in parentheses. In this one, we'll put vehicle in parentheses and 4005. Again, it's very, very subtle, but it'll quickly let you know which account you're working contextually. Sometimes, sometimes if it's Mike's card versus Steve's card versus the travel card versus the points card versus the Home Depot card, whatever extra piece of information that's not shown on the name of the account because the account might just be too long, that type of stuff lets you know more or less. It just gives you more context for categorizing things inside banking. The other thing that we've done is sometimes people use this feature called, they turn off this feature called show bank details. So show bank details actually shows you the original information that came from the bank. If you uncheck show bank details, what happens is QuickBooks sorts of cleans up or sort of renames the description that comes from the bank, and it puts sometimes on information that's not so useful. So what we've done is, if you are the type of person that likes having QuickBooks' version of the renamed description, it will also display the full information that came from the bank. So basically you get to see both. Okay. And again, if you are the type of person that only uses, let's just let me use maybe a credit card that has more transactions here. Okay, this might be more relevant. Just give it a second for it to come in. Let's do, let me pick a credit card. Yeah, something like this. Okay, now it will be something where there's enough renaming happening by QuickBooks. Let's see this one. Okay, this could be a good example here. So I'm gonna change this. So you have the original. Let me just zoom in. Okay, so the original actual bank text, and let's see if we have something that's okay. So it's a good example. So this one's called ads CC, and that's the information that QuickBooks renames that transaction. If I don't have Google Ads, then I don't know what that is. Like ads CC doesn't mean anything to me. And again, sometimes we can't control the information that QuickBooks changes. Like this one, for example, is called Alliance Travel Insurance, but it just renames it to Alliance. So again, I don't like the fact that QuickBooks renames it, but sometimes the renaming is useful. So for the specific group of people that like to do the renaming, then you would do that. But again, if you're gonna just use the show bank details, if you're gonna use the show bank details anyway, then I would recommend that you turn off the banking feature. I mean, that specific banking feature, which that one would be the
bank feed
additional bank detail. Yeah. So I would turn that off, because then it would be sort of redundant for you to have the two pieces of information. So again, only for the people that want to use the QuickBooks version of the renamed payees and then want to see in red under the full bank version. So the other thing I want to show you is the expanded expense accounts. So let me go into the credit card.
It should be
again.
basically everything, by the way, not just expense accounts. It should be most every drop down inside of here.
Oh, multiple. Okay, so
So
let's grab that credit card again. So we have so much junk in this QuickBooks file.
we have to
Where's
do
my?
cleanup sometimes.
Yeah, we gotta clean up our junk file. So let's just pull up that credit card again. Where are you? The one with all the transactions. There we go. Okay, so essentially, when you go categorize something, this account expands. You see that? Okay, if I turn this off, okay, so if I turn this off, this box is about half the size. So it drives people crazy when they have a long string, right? Like you have an account, a sub account, and something like that. So now having this long, this sort of double size account, it makes it so much more comfortable to work with. But it's just the account in this case. Yeah, but and the
It
other
also
thing that
makes the memo box bigger, by the way.
exactly, that's what to say.
Yeah.
And then the memo box makes it bigger. Notice it's now multi-line, and you can also rename them. I mean, resize the memo box, which is pretty neat. Some people like to keep the original bank text and then like to hit enter and put new memo info, and they kind of want to keep the first line super clean and then add the other stuff in like a second line. Again, a very niche, very sort of like semi-nuanced type of feature, but it does make it a little more comfortable to add more memos in there, and again also makes it more comfortable for you to pick long accounts, because the truncated sizes, it just drives us crazy. And I think this expanded account was also, when you turn that on, it also expands it in other transactions. Let me just double check to make sure it's right. Let me go into expenses, and no, because it wouldn't be an issue on these.
Oh well, if you
can reset.
If you
Right?
click on that, it what you might not realize is that it does make it bigger for like the actual drop down itself.
Okay, it makes
So
it
not
bigger for the drop down.
yeah,
Not the box, but the drop down. Let's look at that. So this is about half the screen right now, the drop down. And then we go into, so one of the things that's kind of non-intuitive, that is inside of the bank rules, but it actually goes across multiple transactions and does this. But we'll go back into the expense and see the drop down. Okay, so if this wasn't expanded, we'll open that up. Okay, so no, it's like, I guess it works across. I guess maybe QuickBooks fixed it, or maybe it's I think, Mark, honestly, I think we forgot that we made that a default feature across the board that doesn't even require
yeah, it might be, honestly.
But this specific one, the one that you're seeing in bank rules, is specific to the bank rules page, right? Because it's in the bank rules page is a particular pain point. And the last thing we're going to talk about is this payee history link. This is awesome. A lot of people love this feature. It's like one of the real popular ones in bank feeds. And essentially what this comes from is anytime you're going to go into let's do bank feed, sorry. So anytime we're going to use go into bank feed, and we're going to, I'll pick another transaction here from the big one, from the big account. And anytime you go in there, and let's say you have used the vendor before, okay, there's a button here that says categorize history, which works really well. And just don't get me wrong, if you click on categorize history, it works really well, but it only goes back 12 months. Okay, so I love this feature, but it's limited to going back 12 months. When this feature works, it works incredible. You get to see the history.
It also doesn't show you class and location, which sometimes is not a big deal. But
great point. You don't see class, you don't see location, right? But I don't think you do get to see memo. Okay, you do get to see memo. Okay, but essentially you get to see the history, but again, it's limited to 12 months. If this was expanded to 14 months or 18 months or 24 months or whatever, we probably would not have developed this feature. But because it's limited to 12 months, and a lot of people do like cleanups that's beyond 12 months, what we've done is we added this button here called payee history. And what it does is, when you click on payee history, it opens up a new tab with a report of every single transaction. And this is all dates, and you can change that if you want to. Every single transaction that was used under that payee, and then you get to see the full piece of information. You get to see the name, the memo, the customer, the class, the location, and it's all grouped by source account. So you can go back and see, okay, every time you've used it and what categories have you used in the past. Sometimes it gives you sort of additional context to figure out, where you're going to categorize that. Okay. All right. I am going to, Mark, leave the rest up to you. Okay.
Oh, man.
So just really quick, just to make sure that that we're on the same page. So we still have we still have the features that used to be in error prevention. They're now under bank rule settings, which is Google Memo Link, restrict transfers, restrict credit card payments, and improve rules creation workflow. That's still going to be there. And then some of the stuff that used to be in Bank Feeds Pro is now under Bank Automation Pro. These are none of these things are new. They are there as well. Some of the things I'll mention here really quick, and then we'll let you, Mark, I'll let you take over because I have another webinar in 10 minutes, is under the copy from Excel into journals, we added 2 additional features. We added the export all list data. Okay, so the same thing that we showcased in the batch enter, in the bulk enter, you could do the same thing with the journal. So you get the template and you get a list of all the database items, as I called it before, the list. And also you not just copy and paste from a spreadsheet. If you have a CSV file and it's formatted correctly, you can also drag and drop the CSV file. That was pretty exciting. So I'm going to showcase that one.
Hector loves the drag and drop.
Oh man, drag and drop's a game changer to me. Although, I mean, look, sometimes I'll be in a computer that doesn't have Excel, and I just can't deal with like having to open an Excel or doing something like that. But let me open up a journal entry, maybe a journal entry that has a lot of things in it.
You need to make another journal entry that has a bunch of things in it just so we have something to copy.
Yeah. So I'm gonna grab I'm gonna go into Batch Pro and do copy down here, and then go into a journal entry, and I'll just make a really long journal entry here. Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Use accounts payable, the one thing that's
it's
gonna be
pick,
annoying about that.
the one that's not gonna work. Okay. So let's say I have a big journal entry like this, but I don't have it in QuickBooks. So this is the one I want to create in QuickBooks. So I'm gonna export.
Not showing for you. Why is that?
I might have it turned off. Actually,
I should be tied to that same feature.
No, it's not. No,
is it not?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, that makes me feel better. I was gonna be annoyed for a second.
Yeah, we did
not
that.
with you, but with webinar luck.
Yeah. So this is the spreadsheet that this is the journal entry that I want. Okay, just imagine a world where I don't have it in QuickBooks. I have it in a spreadsheet, and kind of looks like this. Okay. And this is the file. Again, the file needs to be formatted correctly. You have the class, the location, the name, all that stuff. Okay, I'm gonna save this, and then I'm gonna delete this, just so you can see that this is not a real journal entry anymore. We're gonna go into a journal entry, so it's just a blank. Then we're gonna click on the paste button, or paste from Excel button, and instead of pasting, you'll have the ability to literally just drag and drop that. So we'll show that, and showing drag and drop is not easy in a webinar format, but this is the file that I had in CSV file. So I'm going to click and drag that in here, and it does the same exact effect as opening it, copying it, pasting it, right? So essentially, it's a quick shortcut into doing the copy and paste if you already have a CSV file in it. So that could work as well. And then we go paste into QuickBooks, and then this one feels more like a paste than a bulk enter. And that's this. Obviously, this feature has existed already for a while, but this particular improvements were added in there. So Mark, I'm going to prepare for my next webinar, and you get to cover the free features. Where are the free features? Give me a second.
Didn't we just cover the free features? Or are you thinking about something else?
No, we didn't. All right. Oh. So we got the, just so you could talk about the bug fixes and improvements we did for edit bank source and the free features. With that, I'll let you go because I got my other webinar to go to. Thank you, everybody. I'll leave you in the best hands in the world.
See you later, Hector. Have a good time with your other webinar.
Yeah. I'll make you host.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Let's see here. So let me get everything started. I was too busy looking at the chat the whole time. This is what I get for doing that. Yeah. So we come over into, let's share the screen here. Okay. So we have a bank fix inside of here. It's not really a fix. It's just really a complete rework of a feature that we've already had, which is that if you are inside the bank register, and let me actually show you the options real quick. if you are in the bank register, we have a feature called register bulk edit bank accounts. This only works for transactions that are not connected to the bank feed anyway, so you have to have added them in manually. But let's say that we have, these transactions right here. I can just select a couple of these with the batch and select edit. And you see how we have this thing that says source account only at the top, because you can only do this one at a time. And now I can say, I want to change this to the savings account, let's say. I can click confirm batch. And I know I go faster than Hector does sometimes. And press OK. And what it'll do is it will now just open up each transaction, change the payment account, save it, open up the next transaction, save it. So it kind of just does that. It used to do something a little bit more behind the scenes, but it just was just a little too buggy for my taste. So hopefully this new way of doing it will be a little bit more consistent for everybody. So that's just one thing we wanted to put out there. And again, remember, if you have this little green window that says manually added from bank feeds, that will not change over. So just be aware of that. We will work on it. Probably. It's our goal. Uh-oh, Hector came back into this one. Let me guess, you have to close this webinar in order to go to another webinar. Will this work with payroll checks? I don't honestly know. That is something that if somebody wants to email me about, I would love to hear it. Yeah. So, and then that was an existing feature, but we just changed it around. And then we have just 3 really simple features that we put in. So first is larger, bolder numbers in modern invoices. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, we have videos for all of this. So yeah, we have videos for all of this. So you can now see that there's new icons. We have videos. All you have to do is click on this little eye icon next to each setting, and it'll give you a video telling you what to do. And yeah, so sorry, we do have to end this because Hector can't have 2 webinars on the same account at the same time. So we do have to end it. But yeah, these new features, just look at anything that has the new button and I guarantee you will have a good time. I thank everybody for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Also, email me at mark@monkbee.com if you have any issues. Thank you very much, everybody.